Hello, hello, okay. Dear respected elder brothers and sisters, and then younger brothers, sisters, I always start using word brothers, sisters, because the reality, the 7 billion human beings are actually our brothers, sisters. According to theistic religion also, these are brothers, sisters. Non-theistic religious tradition, also you see, they all, you see, carry the message of love, compassion. You see, anyone, including troublemaker for you, also you see, deserve our love, our compassion. So therefore, in a sense, you see, they consider as our friend, as our brothers, sisters. And then, more important, now today's world, now here we enjoy peaceful, and I think joyfulness like that, but same moment, imagine, the same planet, same human being, I think this very moment, dying through violence or starvation due to negligence. At this very moment in Yemen, millions of people, particularly children, really, you see, facing immense suffering. All these, and also Africa, all these I usually call man-made problem. We created. So therefore, the nature disaster is something beyond our control. But the human created problem, we have the responsibility to reduce these man-made problem. When I say man-made, does not mean female, no longer any troublemaker. No. Sometimes a female also, you see, become troublemaker. So long, destructive emotion here, always, you see, create some problem. So that we can change. So therefore, whenever I met people, I always start the word brothers, sisters. And I myself always, you see, consider myself as one of 7 billion human beings. Nothing special. I am Buddhist. And furthermore, I am His Holiness the Dalai Lama. But these are secondary level. First level, we are same human being. Mentally, emotionally, physically, we are same human being. So when I think I am one of the 7 billion human beings, I feel whenever I met people, I always feel, my brother, my sister. No barrier. If I stress, I'm Buddhist, then some barrier. That creates concept of we and they. And particularly, if I emphasize I'm Dalai Lama, then on this planet, 7 billion human beings, only one Dalai Lama. So if I too much emphasis Dalai Lama, a lonely feeling. just a lone person, and I feel I'm another human being, then plenty of the brothers, sisters, that immediately, you see, develop the sense of concern of their well-being. Sense of concern of their well-being on the basis of sense of oneness of humanity. You see, that ultimately the source or basis of individual happiness. Person take care more, or should they take care more other people. That immediately you see bring your own self-confidence. And with that, you can carry all your activities transparently. That creates trust and showing sense of concern of their well-being. Then trust comes. Trust is the basis of friendship. We are social animal. Friendship, very important. Genuine friendship on the basis of we are same human brothers, sisters. Then that's reliable, genuine friendship. Friendship on the basis of money or power, then that's temporary. I often telling people, when someone says business or these things go well, go that, you may find more friends. When that fortune decline, then these usually you consider a friend, then they don't care you. Even you telephone them, you may not get answer. When your fortune go like that, then many people come, showing as a friend and much smile. But when you go that, these disappear. Genuine, trusted friend. When your fortune go that way, these genuine friends then really showing you more sense of concern of your sort of fate, like that. So therefore, even animal, we can see. Like 3 dogs live together, and then one dog, some injury. Then the third dog, of course, showing affection to other 2 dogs, but particularly that dog who have some injury, showing more sort of sense of concern and licking. Now some scientists also, now they carry some experiment. Mice. One mice, some injuries. One mice, no injury. Both have the injuries. So other sort of injured because of the mice remain lonely. Another one with another mice. As in nature, you see the other mice usually used to licking to that injured mice. So recover the mice with another mice constantly licking their sort of injury, much faster recover. This is now scientists say that. Nothing to do with religion. So therefore, the sense of sort of the compassion or love is something very important. So now, since, as I mentioned, we are same human being, I also have emotion, anger, attachment, like you, same. And my life, in a way, there's a much more experience of difficulties. My life, whole life, difficult life. So, my experience, how to keep inner strength on the basis of self-confidence, and how much benefit to myself, that when we're passing through difficult situation, I said, this way of thinking is tremendously useful to keep peace of mind. And then with peace of mind, your sort of, I think, special ability of our brain is judgment, analyze, in order to know the reality. So when our mind calm, then we can use that sort of the ability properly. When our mind much emotion, anger, attachment, then that part of brain cannot function properly. So our view then become biased. With a biased mind, we cannot carry investigation objectively. So the calm mind also very, very important to carry human intelligence. So therefore, warm-heartedness and combined with human intelligence, then we have the ability to overcome many problems. Actually, can overcome. Because you use human intelligence, you understand the reality of the problem. So the method, way you dealing these problems become more realistic. The realistic approach bring positive result. Unrealistic approach always fail to bring what you want. Then, on the other hand, warm-heartedness keep your determination, self-confidence. So therefore, in my difficult life, these thinking very, very useful. So therefore, you as a human brothers, sisters, you also, think these lines when you're passing through some difficulties, some problem. I think 7 billion human beings, except a very young child. Otherwise, I think everybody have some kind of problem. So, the problem there, but much depend on your own mental attitude. That really makes big differences. Whether believer or non-believer, as a human being, we have this marvelous brain. And with the help of this brain, our sort of, compassion or warm-heartedness can keep. Animal cannot. Animal, the social animal, they also have the sort of, biologically, they have the potential of love, or like their sense of care, care other. But since no intelligence. So they are sort of warm-heartedness, warm heart, very limited. We human beings, because of this brain, we can expand that warm-heartedness. Firstly, all your family members, then your community, then the whole society. So theoretically, there is possibility we can develop a sense of sort of concern of others' well-being on the basis of sense of oneness of human brothers or humanity. I think theoretically we can develop the universal love of so long human being showing love, sense of concern of their well-being. Through education, not necessarily through religious belief. Sometimes religious belief also they create the sense of we and they. So sense of sameness of humanity, then no national boundary, religious boundary everywhere. So that according to my own sort of experience, I realized these are very, very valuable, very helpful. So wherever I go, I always discuss these value or these matters. So now here also, I want to share with you. And then the certain way of thinking, certain idea which I practice actually come from India. Particularly 8th century, one of Nalanda top master, Shantarakshita, invited to Tibet, he introduced. I think we can say the psychology and how to tackle these emotions according to Nalanda tradition. He introduced. So over 1,000 years, we Tibetan sincerely, seriously, study and practice. So therefore, I really feel all these useful way of thinking or certain technique to tackle about our emotion come from India. So I usually describe you Indian, historically, our guru, our teacher. I think not only with Tibetan, but also look in, over 2,000 years, I think the message of this country, mainly message of Buddha, cover whole Asia. So, judging from that, I think whole Asia, people of Asia countries, follow ancient Indian knowledge. So then, Tibet case, one difference is we follow Nalanda tradition, so rigorous study, few decades study. That makes differences. Many other Buddhist countries, of course, they consider a follower of Buddha Dharma, but not pay much attention for rigorous study like that. So now, since all these knowledge come from India, then I usually wherever I go, I always talking about ahimsa and karuna. So I consider I'm messenger of ancient Indian thought. The way I carry this message combination with modern scientific finding. As a messenger of ancient Indian thought, then when I look modern India, I think you following or Kasota following more materialistic life with materialistic education. Some way you neglected about ancient your knowledge. Now, according to my own experience and some other my friends, so now we realize, ancient Indian sort of knowledge about mind, about emotion, and how to tackle emotion. You see, these knowledge, not only just ancient one, but also very relevant to today's world. So therefore, it is really worthwhile to revive this knowledge. And as a matter of fact, India is the only nation who can combine these two things. The modernity, modern education, modern technology, including science, these, plus ancient Indian knowledge about mind, about emotion. Because this is your own tradition, not something new, right? So therefore, now, these days, I think since recent years, now one of my commitment is try to revival of ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. Firstly, I live in this country now over 58 years. So I usually describe, now I am son of India. Reason, few years ago, one occasion, you see, one media people, including some Han brothers, some are from Taiwan mainly, and overseas. So one journalist asked me, why you describe yourself as a son of India? Right. He thought this is something political reason. And then I answer. You see, my brain, every cell of my brain filled by Nalanda thought. Since childhood I study. Then this body survived. Then at that time, you see, more than 20 years, this body survived by Indian dal, Indian rice, Indian chapati. So I describe myself as a son of India. Like that. So therefore, I really know. And then I really should admire India. I think because of ahimsa. Mainly, I think ahimsa, modern India, inspired different community with different script, different language, but live together as one union of India. When I visit South India, East India, West India, North India, Central India, different language, different script even, but all, you see, carry the spirit of one union of India. So very similar, that of European, spirit of European Union. So this country, I think very, very comparatively very stable, peaceful. And then religious harmony, really wonderful in this country. Millions of Christian, millions of Muslim. And look, now here in Bombay, there's a Parsi, who follow Zorazuddin, very small, about 100,000, but very peaceful, no fear. Among the millions of Christians, millions of Hindus, millions of Muslims, they really remain very, very peaceful. So that is India. So that also not creation after independence, but over 3,000 years, religious harmony exists in this country. So therefore, I really also developed the full confidence religious harmony is possible because India, over billion population and quite sort of troubled country, but as far as religious harmony is concerned, is still kept. So this is over 3,000 years religious harmony developed in this country. So therefore, since India, you see, they can keep religious harmony. So therefore, the Middle East and then the different area where you see some conflict in the name of religion, you see, can reduce. And eventually, religious harmony can develop because this country, religious harmony carried over 1,000 years. So one of my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. So now, my number one commitment as a human being, try to promote human warm-heartedness, human compassion, irrespective whether believer or non-believer or believe this religion or that religion. The second, my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. One Australian Christian preacher, very nice person. So one occasion in Australia, I think Sydney or Melbourne, Sydney, you see, he introduced me before my talk. So he described me good Christian. So then when I start my talk, I look at him and then I mentioned, I consider you as a good Buddhist. So there is some sense. You see, we both, in spite of different philosophical views, we both practice love, patience, and tolerance, and serving people. So all religion, you see, have the philosophical field, big differences. Even within Buddhist tradition, even within Nalanda tradition, there are many different philosophical views. I think some of you, may have heard last 2 days. You know, I think some of you, may attended last 2 days my lecture. So, there are a lot of sort of different philosophical views. That's the method. Goal is happy person, peaceful mind. So, the religious harmony is very possible. So, second, my commitment is try to promote the religious harmony. Then third, my commitment is I'm Tibetan, and 6 million Tibetan people there. They trust me. So I have moral responsibility for their well-being. As far as temporal responsibility or political responsibility is concerned, since 2001, we achieved elected political leadership. So since then, my position is a semi-retired position. And then, 2011, I totally retired. Not only I myself retired, but also almost 4-century-old tradition, Dalai Lama institution, automatically become head of both temporal and spirituality. Now that formally, voluntarily, proudly cease. So, the rest of my life now no longer any sort of political sort of responsibility. Political matter, elected political leadership, they carry this work. And then my sort of responsibility in the field of preservation of Tibetan culture. As I mentioned already, our culture very much related with the Nalanda tradition. Eventually, I think Tibetan culture, something unique, peaceful culture, is developed because of Nalanda sort of knowledge, how to tackle our mind. You know, some Tibetan who spent about 15-20 years in Chinese Gulag. When I met some of these people, they told me, oh, during that prison life, or their prison life, they found best period to practice compassion, forgiveness, these things. So one occasion, one Tibetan monk, I know him very well before 1959. So in early 80s, after Deng Xiaoping's sort of new sort of more realistic, comparatively more realistic approach, so he opened the border and Tibetan from Tibet come here, and from here go to Tibet, meet their relatives, comparatively much easier. So therefore, that old monk who spent in Chinese Gulag about, I think, 18 years, when I met him, he mentioned to me during 18 years in Gulag, in prison, he faced some danger. I thought maybe danger on his life. I asked, what kind of danger? His answer is danger, danger losing of compassion towards those perpetrator, some Chinese officials. That is Tibetan culture. You see, you must keep compassionate attitude, particularly people who create problem for you. Result? Now I think he lived, when he passed away, I think last year, about 90, I think 97, like that. Very peaceful, very good, like that. So that is Tibetan Buddhist culture. So I really feel that kind of culture is really worthwhile to preserve. So, and that the detailed explanation about the system of emotion, these things, the Tibetan language is the best language. The Sanskrit language, that language. Modern Hindi, no hope. English, of course, no hope. only Tibetan sort of language. So when translation started around 8th century, then at that time Tibetan language not not a developed language, simple, primitive language, while translation carrying Tibetan language itself then further developed. As a result, now today, among different languages, Tibetan language is the most closest language with Sanskrit. So therefore, those subjects which in Sanskrit language, now all those topics, now Tibetan language, now best language to explain. So therefore, preservation of Tibetan language and Tibetan Buddhist knowledge is not only concern for 6 million Tibetan people, but it's a large number of Buddhists in China, China proper. Now nearly 400 million Buddhists in China. As a matter of fact, now China become the biggest Buddhist population, populated nation like that. So then the many sort of Buddhists, and including in the West, of course, Western culture, Western religion is a Judo-Christian background. I never try to propagate Buddhism in Western country. I feel some guilty feeling. I often tell in Tibetan, if some Christian priest come in our settlement, try to start one big construction, because of the church construction, one big church, and to carry some lesson about Christianity, we feel uncomfortable. So similarly, in the country, Judo-Christian sort of tradition, I, as one sort of stranger and teaching Buddhism, I feel uncomfortable. I think 3 years ago, I was in France, and because of the Strasbourg in France, the local Buddhist organization, I think 15 or something, they jointly asked me or prepared one sort of lecture on Buddhism. Then when I actually give teaching or explanation about Buddhism in that hall, around 80,000 French people there, I feel uncomfortable. This is not Buddhist country, Judo-Christian background. So one example, one occasion, one of my friend, one Tibetan, who already established some sort of a small center, Buddhist center. One day, his friend, one German, quite rich, wealthy sort of German, they came to see me and asked me or told me, they are thinking to construct one big Buddhist institution. That German willing to donate $1 million. Then I told them, this is not a Buddhist country. If you want to help to build some, institution, Buddhist institution, then either Thailand or some other country, Buddhist country, or in India, you can build. Not in France, I mentioned. And similarly, in Switzerland also, one occasion, many representatives of small Buddhist center come together. I told them, among millions of European, some naturally showing interest about Buddha Dharma. Then, you see, it is individual freedom. It's okay to explain them, but should not sort of today, create a big institution, Buddhist institution like that. Not good. I told them. So, because you see, sometimes, of course, I respect Christian, Catholic. I think they made tremendous sort of contribution regarding education and whole world. Wonderful. But meantime, they also carry some missionary work. So, some occasion I sort of told them, I expressed to them, I appreciate their sort of contribution regarding education and health. Wonderful. These missionaries or monks or nuns, sisters, they really dedicated. Wonderful. Which Buddhist monks, nuns, not carrying that much sort of work. So therefore, but meantime, you also carry missionary work. So those human area, no sort of the profound religious tradition, just sort of primitive sort of faith, then okay. But those area which you see the religious tradition on sound basis, then missionary work eventually create conflict. So while I telling, and one occasion in Mongolia, some Korean missionary people I met, they came to see me. And I told them, this is not Christian country. This is Buddhist country. You see, your missionary work not suitable. I told them, if you carry some work for education, general education, and health, most welcome. If you try to propagate Christianity in Mongolia, I felt that's wrong. I straightforwardly, I told them. So while I sort of telling other people that way with my conviction, so I myself try to propagate Buddhism in other non-Buddhist country is totally wrong. Like that. So therefore, say among non-Buddhist country, there are some individuals, including some scientists, showing interest. That's okay. Even whether accept religion or not, up to individual. And then among religion, whether follow this religion or that religion, up to individuals, freedom. But country as a whole, this we must respect as a Christian country, due to Christian background, like that. So religious tolerance, religious harmony, I fully committed that. And Tibetan case, because a third, my responsibility regarding preservation of Tibetan language, Tibetan culture. Then, Tibetan environment. As a roof of the world, usually people call. So one Chinese ecologist, he wrote one article I saw. In that, he mentioned the effect from Tibetan plateau towards global warming as much as South Pole and North Pole. So he described Tibetan plateau is third pole. It's one Chinese ecologist. So therefore, the taking care about Tibetan ecology is not only concern for 6 million Tibetan people, but global warming, that's something important, relevant. Then look, major river from Yangtze River, Mekong River, and then Brahmaputra, and then Sindh. Indus, river. All these major rivers, which I think about billion human beings' life depend on this river. So these rivers come from Tibet. So therefore, a special pay attention about ecology in Tibet is very, very essential. So that is my sort of commitment regarding Tibet. Then my latest commitment is revival of ancient Indian knowledge in modern India. So these 4 my commitment I want to mention to you, and you who consider as a friend of mine, then please keep these things. Try to, tea. Okay, very good. So please, you see, as a human brothers, sisters, we have same potential. So try to contribute in these four sort of my responsibility or commitment. And then those people who have not much interest, then forget, no problem. While I, one of the human beings, to criticize some other people imposing something on us. So I never imposing something for anyone. So entirely up to individual because of the choice, like that. Thank you. Now some questions now. Now some questions. Merhom. Yes. I think Merhom hold here, and then those people who have some question come here, then more easier. Instead of Merhom go there and go there. I think, yes. No, here. Okay. Then two Merhom, one this side, one that side. Okay. Yes.
His Holiness, how do we cope with when our children leave us and go, the empty nest syndrome? They grow up with us and then they leave us and go. So how do we as parents cope with that?
That's why we become celibate. We don't want additional problem. Sometimes I used to telling those monks, particularly from the West, some Western, you say, Buddhist monk, I usually telling them, when you look those married people, a lot of problem. So that is the cause of the inspiration way. Inspiration, celibate people.
Thank you.
Then here, I think actually everything impermanent. Always changing. Due to certain sort of factor, certain causes, children leaving. But that does not mean they completely forget parent. So, more patience and keep contact. And occasionally send some like this, some bread, cookie or some sweet. Then, of course, You can keep in deep inside relation, parent and children. Okay. Due to some small sort of, also the event, or you make some kind of serious decision is wrong. Next question.
Good morning, His Holiness. You have taught us about the importance of compassion and warm-heartedness. In today's modern world, it is still considered to be a weakness in a person. How to make this a strength in a human being? Could you please guide us?
Firstly, now according to scientists, basic human nature is more compassionate. They have plenty of reasons. Over 30 years, I have serious discussion with modern scientists. So many occasions I participated in a big meeting. So they have a lot of reasons to claim basic human nature is more compassionate. Now, one sort of a simple thing is constant anger, hatred. It is actually eating our immune system. Then, you see, the more compassionate mind, you see, they're very good for our health. So these days, I sort of telling we take care about physical hygiene. So similarly, we need hygiene of emotion is very important. Actually, hygiene of emotion is very important. Hygiene of physical. Peaceful mind, blood circulation, everything very normal. Much anger, fear, very bad for our health. So like that. And then we are social animal. So we biologically equipped love or sense of community. Love bring together, anger expel. So the modern education very much oriented about material value, not pay attention about our inner value. I think 200 years ago, you see, separate education institutions started, mainly in Europe. At that time, I think moral ethics carried by the responsibility about moral ethics carried by church. But gradually, now the church influence in the society, as a matter of fact, the religious sort of effect to the society comparatively now declining. So, separate, newly developed education institution should take both responsibility about brain, responsibility about warm-heartedness. Not with belief, but use common sense and common experience and scientific finding. We can educate people as a part of hygiene of emotion. Okay. Next.
Good morning, His Holiness. I have a small question.
Louder.
I have a small daughter, and dealing with children sometimes, they make you angry. So what should one do, while we deal with them?
Now think wider perspective. Immediate certain thing you may irritate, but look from wider perspective, then still you are children. And eventually as you getting older and older, these children, I think very, very important. And then I think children as a human, as a part of human society, and the future of humanity depend on these children. We gradually gone. I usually make a distinction. The generation of 20th century and the generation of 21st century. So generation of 20th century, like myself, now within few years will go. Now this 21st century, at the beginning. So generation of 21st century, they are very important. They are the really mega of new century, peaceful humanity. So for that reason, you must provide maximum love to them. And occasionally, they may create some, agitation. But then you think more broadly. And if really necessary, the short moment,
you may spank. Yeah.
Then afterwards, some sweet. Yes, next question.
Respected Holiness, Buddha was not a Buddhist, Christ was not a Christian, Krishna was not a Hindu. Don't you think religion has become a ritual where spirituality has just not existed?
Karsa. Narva. Yes, I always see telling people, according to my belief, Buddha and modern time Mahatma Gandhi and ancient Mahavira, all these spiritual leaders is production of Indian tradition. Buddha came. Already there is a practice of shamatha, practice of vipassana. There's single-pointed meditation and analytical meditation already there. So Buddha spent 6 years, hermit life, meditate these things. So the tradition, these, I think, over 3,000 years in this country. You see, these, firstly, I think, investigation, what's the reality? Then the reality of being self. So they concluded, then rebirth theory developed here. And with that, theory of karma also developed. So then, Sankhya philosophy, over 3,000 years, a lot of sort of investigation. What's the reality? And they mentioned 25 kasoda.
25 elements.
25 elements. So these are the result. Much sort of investigate what's the reality. Then, because there are cases who remember past life. So therefore, the theory of rebirth also there. And since non-theistic religion, theistic religion, then God creates. So that's the beginning of our life. Non-theistic religion, beginningless, according Jain philosophy and Buddhist philosophy, and I think some other philosophy, like that. So then the concept of Atma come. This body, just one life. But there must be something which come from previous life, next life. So concept of Atma come. And then the concept of karma also come. So I feel these great spiritual leaders are production of their kasota, their culture, like that. In Judo-Christian, I think that area, perhaps, in the story of Jesus Christ, some three wise men from East, it mentioned that. So at that time, already some sort of concept, impression. East, some sort of more deeper knowledge of these things. So of course these, you have to more investigation. And the Egyptian civilization, Chinese civilization, because Indus Valley civilization. I think Indus Valley civilization eventually produced most thinkers, philosophers. So culture, I think, not only thinking outside, but deep inside. Then these different ideas, different sort of also the practice come. I feel that. Just few days ago at Dharamsala, one meeting, so they, about Buddha and Mahatma Gandhi. And I told them, you see, these two are individual persons. Actually, you see, the production of ancient Indian culture. So we also, you see, the kasota within that cultural heritage. So there is potential. We ourselves become like Mahatma Gandhi, become like Buddha. I feel that. Thank you.
Good morning, His Holiness.
Oh.
I'm student at Somaya Vidyavihar. I'm student at Somaya Vidyavihar, and we are very honored to have you here. So my question to you is, so how can we use our culture, for example, Jain philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, what are Dharam is teaching us, at the same time use technology to solve all the world's problems like poverty and every other thing. How can we combine spirituality as well as technology to cater to all the needs of the people?
Kasa. Obviously, the modern technology, modern knowledge, modern education itself is very much oriented about material value. That also we need. We have this physical. So modern technology brought, I think, immense benefit. Now, for example, in India, I think modern technology, I think brought immense sort of benefit. Wonderful. We need that. What we are saying is modern technology alone not sufficient. Now, some scientists say the computer, artificial
intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. I don't think. Some level, yes, machine can do. But still, I think the controller of the machine, still we human being, I think without that, I don't think. If everything, you see, carried by machine, then I think a machine carry birth control, then eventually we human being as a troublemaker, then number reduce, that's good. Eventually world carried by care of the world by machine, not human being. I don't think. We are troublemaker, but still we need of the world. So in any way, we human beings remain. So now question of inner value, inner peace is very essential. Very purpose of this material value is for happiness. Unfortunately, nowadays, scientific sort of research now create, or what's the destructive weapon, including nuclear weapon. That's very sad. Human intelligence used for killing. Very sad. 20th century, I think we can consider century of violence. Now we must create this 21st century should be century of peace, not violence. Tremendous violence during 20th century, according to some sort of historian, they say over 200 millions of people killed through war. Immense suffering. But that violence creates a new shape of the world. Then some people may say some justification of that immense violence. But that's not the case. Now, 21st century, still in human mind, old concept, whenever find disagreement, it's relying use force. That's old thinking. Use force, outdated. In ancient time, small kingdom. In India, small rajas. Then sword and spear to defend themselves and conquer more place. And destroy your so-called enemy is your victory. Now, today's world, see, your enemy also part of yourself. And economically, global economy, heavily interdependent, like India and Pakistan. More prosperity in India, immense benefit to Pakistani. The Pakistan more prosperity, benefit to India, like China. That's today's reality. So therefore, destruction of your neighbor is destruction of yourself. Global sort of economy and global warming in this field. Now, we have to think about humanity rather than my nation, their nation. So war, violence, very much based on the concept of we and they. My MD sort of dream is eventually this world, I think political boundary eventually should go away. And then community. I think within India and Europe also, no serious political boundary within India now. But, you see, preserve their own different culture, different language, no problem. And common interest, work for common interest. So, to some extent, the European Union also like that. So, therefore, eventually, I think world should be one human community, no political boundary. And with that, simultaneously, I think eventually this world should be demilitarized world. Then I think really happy, peaceful human home can develop. So long it's my nation, their nation, and with weapon, very difficult. Okay. So technology brings us physical comfort. We need that. Without technology, this sort of the delicious tea cannot materialize. So I need this. I love this. So we need material development. At the same time, not completely negligence about our inner peace. When you develop strong anger, fear, even if you see delicious tea come, you don't want, or you may
You may throw the cup on the floor.
So, in order to enjoy material facility fully, peace of mind very important, isn't it? Thank you. Next.
Good morning, sir. You told about the Nalanda teachings. So, can you elaborate on the certain techniques to control emotions?
Last 2 days, we discussed, this matter. I think, firstly, to non-believer, use common sense, common experience, on the basis of scientific finding. Anger, very bad for our health. Compassion, very good for our health. That's medical scientists now say that. So now, without any belief, then if someone who believes religious thing, then according to theistic or God, infinite love, we all children of God. So Buddhists call Buddha nature. Theistic religious viewpoint, we all children of God. So some kind of genes from God, everyone have that. That we may call Buddha nature. Like that. So very good. Provided we should be serious. Whether we accept religion or not, up to individual. Once we accept, we should be serious, sincere. Not just religion carry lip service. Like that. Or just ritual, some superficial way, not that way. Okay. Then explanation about Nalanda tradition. I study Nalanda tradition over 60 years. So within few minutes, impossible to explain. If you have some interest, and then study yourself. Then not just weeks or months, decades are getting more knowledge. And that knowledge also not copy from book or teacher's lecture. Analyze yourself. Read different books with different sort of views. Analyze. Then you get more conviction. Once conviction develops, then you familiarize that conviction. Then gradually transform our emotion. Okay. Not like modern machine. One sort of switch, one button, or everything come. Not that way. Our brain, basically, Buddha's time, or 3,000 years ago, our brain, and 21st century's brain, more or less, basically same. Okay.
Namaste, sir. As a practical seeker with spirituality as a facet under the umbrella, I would like to know, is ego, the creation of ego, a mistake of the universe? And with the basis of oneness, how do we move from ego consciousness to soul consciousness with some practical relevant steps for self-seeking?
Kasa. Correct. Oh, creation. I think ego, there are variety, different level. You see, feeling of self is there. With that, taking care of yourself. So because of feeling of self, I am part of the humanity. So in order to get a happy sort of life, I have to look the society, happy world. I get maximum benefit. Okay. Then egoistic sort of attitude go extreme. Then just self-centered attitude, not thinking so well-being of other. That's the extreme way. And foolish, short-sighted, ego, good, with because of the holistic view. We are part of the humanity. We are a human being of this planet. So this planet, more healthy, more peaceful, you get benefit. For example, you see your neighbor house, fire, burning, although not yet reach, you see, your physical, but you have to take care because your own sort of survival. So world, in a way, burning. If you really have some kind of sameness of human brothers, sisters, then millions of people dying, killing. How can you remain indifferent? So, in modern time, distance is not much sort of relevant. So, some other place, people dying. When we seeing television, or young children, very thin and dying. How can we neglect in different way? That too much self-centered attitude, selfish way, there are a lot of problems we are facing. More compassionate society certainly reduces these problems. Then you also part of the humanity. If you remain in heaven, then okay. So look, world, lot of trouble, but so long you are in heaven. So that is, I think, selfish thinking. Selfish thinking is source of more problem. Think oneself, more fear. More fear and attachment brings irritation. Irritation brings anger, hatred. So then your physical health also will destroy. Okay. Like that. Then next question.
Guruji, I'm Shanta Chatterjee. You remember we met at Shea where you very kindly blessed the foundation stone of the Elders Village of Helpage India.
Hold the mic closer to you.
Yeah. That Elders Age is coming up now through grants from the Rural Electrification Department of the government, 3.5 crores. I liked your idea of dispensing with political boundaries. My background is philosophy, psychology, and environment. And I would say there would be no environment problems if you could push towards removing political boundaries. So you should add that as your 5th commitment.
Yes. Oh, I'm very happy. The boundary marriages. So thank you. Now I found my companion, one old lady. Unfortunately, you are old, so we more or less disappear, more or less simultaneously.
No, That's what you think. That's what you think. I don't think so.
But anyway,
Okay.
in any way,
May I?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, we really need emphasis, oneness of humanity, and global economy and the global warming. These reality now telling us 7 billion human beings must live friendly, peacefully. So many big factory, unfortunately, producing weapon. And so here I really feel very sad. America, as a leading nation of free world, now withdraw from Paris climate accord. I think very sad.
That's temporary.
Hmm?
That is temporary. Environment will force them to take cognizance of it.
And meantime, you see, many American state, you see, they are sort of also they still carrying sort of commitment, right? Like that. So it is. So if you have the same view, then I wonder, you see, you should think more now how to implement, how to promote the sense of oneness of humanity on this planet through education. We are working. So you, since you have same sort of view, so please think more, then more research work, how to implement, or how to introduce in existing modern education about these concepts.
You know, on the internal environment, Buddhism.
그래서 Thank you.
Sir,
If you have some sort of, if you want to carry some commitment, then please keep contact with the Khasa.
Veer
Or the Khasa, Koi Ming.
Veer.
This
Vidyaloke.
organization, and as well as that sort of Khasa, board headed. You see, you can keep contact, and any sort of practical suggestion come, most welcome. Thank you.
Sir, personally, I feel deeply enraged at the spreading of religious fanaticism over my supposedly democratic nation. So individually, how do I maintain an attitude of compassion in the face of so much injustice?
Khasa. Yeah. Now, as I mentioned, India, religious harmony, over 3,000 years there. Indian Muslim relation with Christian brothers, sisters, and Kazakh. So within Muslim, Shia and Sunni, no problem. So I think India should take some active role, promotion of religious harmony. So I often, you see, telling Indian government of India should organize international religious conference. In 56, International Buddhist Conference took place here. You see, organized by Indian government. The committee headed by Dr. Radha Krishna, Vice President. So now, time come, India, I think, should organize international religious conference. Then the leader, I think one day they speak some nice words. Then the secondary level of religious leader should spend 2-3 days serious discussion how to reduce conflict in the name of religion in Arab, in Syria, in Afghanistan, even now Pakistan also. Now these, I think India, you see, should take more active role because you already have all these major religious traditions lived together over 1,000 years. Then these sort of secondary level of leaders should discuss seriously. And if you see the possible, then some representative from that group goes visit those areas, including Burma, conflict in the name of religion, go there and tell them. And then also I think as 1956, part of Buddha Jayanti celebration, Government of India special arrangement, some pilgrimage to all major Buddhist sites, all the delegation. So similarly, the International Religious Conference, afterward, these leaders, you see, should take some kind of pilgrimage to Jain temple, Buddhist temple, Christian temple, Hindu temple, so on. Since 1975, I practice that. Wherever I go, some possibility, group pilgrimage to different places. That's very helpful. You see, spend a few minutes silent meditation. You get some kind of feeling of vibration. With that spirit, I also take pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Like that. I think India really, now, you already preserve these things. Now must share with the other area where religious conflict there. Not sufficient pray, should be active. Okay. So, very good, thank you. I think you should be part of that group with that bag. You can go. Next question.
Namaste. My name is Neeta Toshniwal, and I just have a desire to take your blessings because I'm a part of a spiritual seeker. So would like my all question get answered if I get your blessing, because I would, by shaking hands with you.
Karsa.
So that.
Okay, come. Okay. Next question. Next question, come.
Start your question.
Thank you so much. There's a friend of mine, she's with me, and she also wants to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. She's with me, she got me here, so I wanted her to come.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yes, question.
Good morning, His Holy Highness. My name is Veena Shinde. I'm from TSS, and this is the second time I'm meeting you. Yeah, I have a question that there is very thin line with your requirement and the greediness. So what is the best practice in Buddhism where we can control our greediness? Like for anger, if we feel angry, we count number 1, 2, 3, 4, or But when we feel greedy, it's very difficult to identify that we are greedy.
Kasa Tara institution.
Thank you.
Re. Kasa weba kasa. As a desire. It's two types. One desire with reason. Okay, I think Kasoda, the realistic desire is good. Without that, no movement, no further progress. even spiritual field, with desire. I want to change my mind. I want to further progress about my spiritual experiences. Without that desire, will not take place. And then another sort of kind of desire, mainly material value. Material value, in any case, there is limitation. 10 rupees, 1,000 rupees, 10,000, lakhs, 100 millions. Desire, still feel, oh, I want more, I want more, I want more. That kind of desire is, you see, no realistic desire. Okay, so we have to make some distinction. More realistic, more balanced way is good. That now here, I think our emotion, the proper way to check our emotion is our brain. Analyze. Desire, or that desire, whether based on valid reasons or not, and can achieve or not. That's the responsibility of our brain. Animal cannot do. So analyze, and then desire that level, right. So then carry according to that desire. The intelligence show that desire is unrealistic desire, and then tell or be careful. Okay. Okay. Next.
Your Holiness, you speak a lot about compassion, developing compassion. You speak about ahimsa. I work with young children, and many of these are abused. Is it right to develop compassion for the perpetrator of these crimes? Should they not be punished for what they have done to these young children?
I think justice, very important. So without justice, without rule of kasota, rule of law, then sometimes our emotion go extreme way. So people who are not sufficient spirit of self-discipline, then some kind of law, right, carrying some justice. That's important. So I think you should complain publicly. This some wrongdoing person. Okay. But not necessarily hatred or anger, in order to reduce these wrongdoing in future. So with that motivation, some sort of also the compassionate motivation, even wrongdoer, wrongdoer themselves, you see, should know this action is wrong. So out of sense of concern of their own well-being and well-being of future, then you see these, sometimes harsh method is necessary. Okay.
Your Holiness, you have a wonderful initiative of Mind and Life for systematic dialogue with scientists. How can we have a similar forum for the training and dialogue with political leaders, those who have temporal power? Because in the Nalanda tradition or secular ethics, universal human values, so that they don't become troublemakers and they become more constructive. So we can, how to start with India, specifically, members of parliament, ministers, politicians, leadership of India, how do we inculcate secular ethics?
We can't blame the present politicians or leaders, because they from a society, more materialistic society, materialistic culture. And that also through materialistic education. So now we have to think, in order to change these things, we have to think seriously about education. The education such a way, not only taking care of material value, but also taking care about our inner value. Through such sort of holistic education, then next generation who come through that kind of education, then gradually can create more compassionate society. Then leader come from that, whether scientist, whether economist, whether politician, then become more, these or certain profession with moral principle. Otherwise, you see, the present sort of generation who come through materialistic sort of life, materialistic education, we can't blame. Only we can do is whispering, some criticize. How bad. Thank you. I think in Indian case, in Delhi, in the front of Parliament, huge Mahatma Gandhiji's statue, you see, constructed. So the opening, some simple ceremony, I was there. So then I expressed, this Mahatma Gandhiji's statue may reminds the parliamentarian when they're passing through that area about Gandhiji's principle. Next.
Good morning, Your Holiness. I had the question that do you feel that history has been manipulated or has been told lie, especially the Western history?
Karsa? What?
The history, as in like the war, with the justification of the war has been just like, yeah, we want to go war for greediness, like America did with Iraq. They just wanted oil. So, like, do you feel that history has been manipulated?
Karsa? What question? Not very clear. Your question.
The history has been manipulated. Like, it has been told lie to us, some of the things in history.
Karsa? Now one example. I know former President of America, Mr. Bush, his father, as well as the junior Bush. Since my first meeting, Mr. Bush, President Bush, we developed very close feeling. So he acting like human being. Some leaders not acting like human being, but more official, something. So therefore, I love him. So we become very close friends. And then September 11th event happened in New York and Washington. I wrote a letter, 12th September that year, I wrote while I expressed my condolence, my prayer, I express, I hope this problem should deal with non-violent way. At that time, I really felt that dealing with the Bin Laden more violent way than today, one Bin Laden, after a few years, 10 Bin Laden, then 100 Bin Laden may come. So the way handle this problem, non-violent way, is the best way. So I expressed that. Then later I met him. So I told him, I love you, I respect you, but some of your policy, I have great reservation. And he smiled like that. So his Iraq war, I think a great mistake. His motivation may be sincere. At goal, bring democracy in Iraq. But the method, use force. So that creates a lot of anger among Muslims. And on top of that, some articles, you see, create impression, the clash between Western civilization and Islam. Totally wrong. Here, look, Indian Muslim, they utilize democracy, no problem. So therefore, I feel like Iraq war, I feel totally wrong. And the Western nation, including America, instead of selling weapons to Saudi Arabia or some other country, I think better help education field and bring more students to America. And then, you see, through education, I found in Jordan, the education seems to see very good. So their mentality is more normal. Whereas the Muslim brothers, sisters remain completely isolated. Lack of modern education and this knowledge, then a little bit so narrow-minded. So then easily manipulate. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, in this respect, I think Indian Muslim brothers, sisters, I think can do more than Afghanistan problem. I sort of express sort of some of my sort of feeling or views. India should take more effort. Afghan people, different, certain fields, different view. You see, I think like India can do both sides without much sort of fear or suspicion. When American involved, then you see, feel something different. So there is Tibetan saying,
The Tibetan saying means that, if you have a sore in your mouth, it should be actually healed within your mouth.
So similarly, you see, some civil war or some conflict within the community, you see, must solve within the community, not from outsider. I feel like that. So, thank you. Then next question.
Namaste.
Yes.
My question is on the theme of...
louder.
Yeah. My question is on the theme of today's talk about reviving Indian wisdom. I would like you to explain the difference between Atma as recognized in Hinduism and consciousness or Buddha nature as recognized in Buddhism.
Kasati, Atma, Anatma. Oh, in the philosophical views, yes, of course, there is different explanation. But I think Hindus and the Buddhists, we both accept the self there. That self want peace. So no problem. The question of Anatma, Atma, that's more philosophical views. That's not much relevant to day-to-day life. Self is there. Buddha also, you see, called himself I. Nagarjuna, his main theory is selflessness, but he used the word self. No problem. These are complicated sort of philosophical views. So the other day in Bangalore, one Hindu Kasadi, Lama, Swami, wonderful Swami, and I sort of mentioned to him the practice of Shila, practice of Samadhi, practice of Vipassana, we are same. So, I usually call Hinduism and Buddhism is like twin brothers, sisters. And actually, I think Buddha, grown up with existing ancient Indian sort of tradition. That's non-Buddhist Hinduism, like that. So then I told him, question Anatma and Atma. So you feel concept of Atma is useful. I feel concept of Anatma is useful. That's our private business. No problem. I cannot, it's useless to argue him or Anathema. He also, you see, useless to argue with me, there must be Atma. Useless. So better to, I like someone, you see, like sweet. Some like don't sweet. No point to argue. Like that. Thank you.
Your Holiness, you have a great sense of humor. What do you think is the role of humor in compassion and peace?
I don't know. I think some psychologists, some medical scientists, you ask. But some my friends say, laughing, no, very good for our heart. Like that. Very bad for our blood circulation. Open, laughing, much better. Okay.
To solve global warming, we know that we need to use less energy, eat less meat, and buy less things. How do you think we can get our brothers and sisters to adopt these behaviors?
Yes. Now, although a Buddhist monk, you have no right to demand, I want vegetarian food or non-vegetarian food. Whatever you get, you should accept. Many years ago, I have serious discussion with one Sri Lanka Buddhist monk. So he mentioned to me, Buddhist monk, neither vegetarian, non-vegetarian. However, when I first came to India, 1959, then early 60s, not many poultry can see. Now, too many poultry in the name of sort of material development. And in the past, I think in this country, I think vegetarianist, many, in the name of material development and non-vegetarian food, now becoming more increase. So, health viewpoint also, vegetarianism is very good. So as far as vegetarian food is concerned, Indian vegetarian is very, very delicious. Chinese vegetarian, not much delicious. But as far as non-vegetarian food is, Chinese non-vegetarian food is much better than Indian non-vegetarian food. So when beef farm, pickery, fishery, poultry, very sad. As far as Tibetan settlement is concerned, right from the beginning, we not accept pickery, fishery, and poultry. One settlement, some chicken there. So I asked them, what do you do, these chicken? They say, egg. Then I told them, after a few years, the hen no longer the egg. And then what do you do? What do you do? No answer. So then later I told them, economically, if you really need these sort of, the hens, then I have no idea, no right to complain. But economically, not so important, then please close. So now, all Tibetan settlement, no poultry. Of course, I cannot ask every Tibetan should be vegetarian. That's difficult to say. Even Buddha did not say. So, that's up to individual. And I myself, 1964, I determined to become vegetarian. So then next, about, I think, 20 months, over 1 year, I strictly remain vegetarian. No egg, like that. Then I developed gallbladder problem, jaundice problem. My whole body become yellow. And eyes and nails become yellow. So later I sort of jokingly expressed, at that time, I truly become living Buddha, yellow. Everything yellow. Not through spiritual practice, but through illness, I become almost like living Buddha. So then, both Tibetan physician as well as allopathic physician, then they told me better to return to the original sort of diet. So then I also used to start eating some non-vegetarian food. So therefore, now many Tibetan Buddhist centers in Europe, in America, I appeal them, the individual up to individual, but as a sort of the society, when they have some common sort of festival or something, must serve vegetarian food. Then in India, major monastery institution, their common kitchen now serve only vegetarian food. We completely stop non-vegetarian food. And some Tibetan sort of, school also you see follow serving vegetarian. And my own sort of kitchen in Dharamsala, basically vegetarian food. Except me. Like that. So therefore, I think the making effort for promotion of vegetarianism is very important, very important. Health viewpoint and also the environment in viewpoint. These poultry, pickery, or kasachuti, beef farm, very bad, very bad. In Kasa, chojikti. Then, of course, the materialistic life, for example, Nowadays, I cannot sort of spend. I prefer now rest. In early 70s, sometimes I visit shopping center, mainly in Switzerland. When enter the shops, you feel, oh, this is very nice. I want to buy. Then second sort of question, you really need that? Then answer is no. So you know, much sort of desire, those the richer family, since you have plenty of money, so even if many things, it's actually you see not necessary, but since you have money, so I want this, buy. I want this, buy. So then I think like car. You see, when advertising, when new car come, you see, you immediately want to buy, bought. Then perhaps a few weeks, few months, you feel, oh, no good, I want to another new one. Go that way. So the desire, without sort of proper reason, then no limit. So practice of contentment, much better. Simplicity. The Buddhist monk and Christian monk, really, their sort of life very, very simple, simplicity, as well as none. Wonderful. I have been few occasions in Italy and also Switzerland or also America, visit some Christian monastery and as well as a nunnery. Sometimes I felt, oh, Tibetan monk, maybe more luxuries. Like that. So therefore, practice of contentment is very important. Devasingedi,
you'll never feel satisfied if you let yourself, have more greed.
Oh. So, the chokshi
So it is said that if you are contented, then you are actually wealthy, rich.
Contented person, actually very rich. Oh, very rich person, always wants something, always hungry. So actually poor, poor, like that. Okay. Yes. Now, finally, I want to express now organizer. Firstly, last 2 days, Kasada, I can't remember the name. The 2 person now, yeah. I remember, I think even next life, your face. I can't remember your name. Somaya. Any? Veer. So, thank you very much. You two organize this opportunity. So, I hope some ideas or some sort of new way to think, new way to look inward. So, I really sort of satisfy. You give me this opportunity. And then the audience, you yourself, also you see showing genuine interest, genuine sort of alertness. Seems no one showing sleeping. So I very much appreciate. As I mentioned before, we are same human being, human nature, emotions, and also you see we all have the same sort of brain, So same ability and same sort of the source of compassion. So now we must utilize these basic sort of value. So I really appreciate. Thank you. Now my life now limiting way. Perhaps now 82 years, so another 70 years, then 90-year-old, another 7, 8 years, then 90 years, then I think too old. So these, my brothers, sisters, particularly younger one, now I hope you will carry these sort of, certain new ideas which come from my mouth. These ideas come from India, we kept. So generation change, but these concepts, these ideas remain generation to generation. If you, the generation of 21st century, if you pay more attention, then carry using these knowledge or these sort of ideas, you can introduce generation of 22nd century. Okay. That's the way gradually change human thinking, human behavior. So, thank you.
Your Holiness, please allow us a few moments. May I now request Shri Samir Somaya, President Somaya Vidya Vihar, to come on the stage and say a few words.
I just wanted to thank His Holiness for coming here. Sir, this is your 4th visit on our campus. You came here in 1993 to inaugurate our Buddhist center, KJ Somaya Center for Buddhist Studies, at the invitation of my father, who believed very much that the spiritual tradition of this country, of this culture, needed to be brought into the college and the school classrooms. So we do teach, with his inspiration, we started with the Hindu tradition, the Buddhist tradition, the Jain tradition, and also we are doing much work in dialogue with Islam and Christianity. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for unveiling his statue today. And since you came here first with his invitation, and as you mentioned, we have a 3-generation relationship, much thanks to you. I want to very much thank Veer Singh, there he is, for bringing you to our campus this 4th time. It would not have happened without Vidyaloke and without much effort that has been put together here to make this event a great success. Thank you, Veer. Thank you, the Vidyaloke team. I want to So in our campus, we are trying to create an education system much as what you are talking about. We think it should be academic. We think it should be physical. We also think it should be spiritual. I will simply end by, you inspired Karuna in us. And there's a wonderful sher which was said by Nida Fazli, in which he says that घर से मस्जिद है बहुत दूर, चलो यूं करें, कोई रोते हुए बच्चे को हंसाया दिया जाए. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shri Somaya ji.
Since I think 3 generations, your grandfather, then your father, then this, from that viewpoint, grandson. Grandson also you should now become like that. So the person, grandson, father and father, physical no longer there, but their desire, their spirit carried by generations. So I very much appreciate. And then I hope, since you are involving not making money, but education field, so the next 1, 2, 3 generations of human being, through education, you see, better human being, more compassionate human being, through that way, more useful to the society, like that. So like Mahatma Gandhi, you see, if his dress, his dress looks like a beggar, but you see, his through education, through experience, now he really now implement about 1,000-year-old India's tradition of ahimsa. Ahimsa must based on karuna. So therefore, he, as I think someone mentioned, during freedom fight, Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violent struggle, some people's eyes looks signs of weakness. Now gradually, many parts of the world, you see, they really admire Mahatma Gandhiji's way of life and way of thinking. So, these, as I mentioned earlier, all these, the production of 1,000-year-old India's tradition. So please carry this knowledge alive, generation to generation. So your institution really, I think, made tremendous contribution regarding that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Shri Somaya ji. Elders and friends, you will now see a devotional dance offering to His Holiness of the Avalokiteshvara Sutra by Manisha Abhay and group. While they get ready, the Vana Foundation team, led by Veer Singh, will make an offering to His Holiness.